Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you may be. Welcome to our panel, where we're going to be discussing edge business models. Now, I was at a conference early on this month in Madrid and discussing all things edge, and this was the most common question that came from the floor and was raised. So it's obviously a very topical question, and we've got half an hour, so we're fairly short. Very much looking forward to the discussion. Very also much looking to comments from the audience. Do raise them during the debate as we progress. In the meantime, if I'll just get my panelists to introduce themselves, and we'll start in alphabetical order with Milan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Milan Jukic. I'm a senior director from Intel Corporation. I work in our Edge Platforms division, and I lead commercialization for our Smart Edge product. Happy to be here today.
And just to immediately go back on my word as soon as we start, as I see we've been joined by Idir, so maybe if we could have Idir introduce himself as well, even though we're not alphabetical anymore. If you can, I think you're on. Maybe give them a moment. Are we there? Okay, well, maybe give Idir a moment. If we go on to Zach then.
Daniel, hey. Hi, Daniel. It's nice to be here.
Hi.
My name's Zachary Smith. I run the Edge Infrastructure Services Group at Equinix. We're the world's largest operator of interconnected data centers throughout the world. And I lead the engineering and product management for how we help our customers access that global reach of our 250 data centers and our ecosystem of 3,000 clouds and networks without ever physically having to go to the data centers. So that includes a bare metal product where we automate physical compute, as well as our network edge product where we bring our vendor ecosystem of NFVs to our customers in a virtualized manner.
Fantastic. Right, have we got Idir on now? Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm connected. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Are you
now.
hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so sorry. Yes, some connection issues. So good morning, good afternoon. Nice to be with you. I'm Idir Fodil. I'm within Network Infrastructure and Services, and I'm in charge of the transformation in our organization, focusing on the transport layer and on the technical issues.
That's great. We're getting a bit of a wobble on the connection there. I don't know if you want to do a dial-in or something like that, but just a bit iffy there. But anyway, let's move on to, as I said, we're discussing business models here and what the business model of the edge is. And just as I see it, the problem can actually be quite simply stated, which is that actually delivering services, be it compute, storage, streaming, CDN, what have you, from a massive centralized cloud node or massive data center campus from an interconnect point in Northern Virginia or London or Frankfurt, whatever you call it, is something that makes very good sense economically. But kind of that gets a bit shakier as we go out to something that's really distributed and a long way away from the center. So I guess the question is who's going to pay for it, and what's that business model get like? Now, I'd like this to be a positive discussion. We can be more or less suggestions about what can actually be done usefully here and how we can progress, because I think we all realize that edge is something that we all need and is going to deliver a great deal of value. So I'll toss that over to Zach first. How do you see the model shaping up at the edge?
Well, as you probably know, at Equinix, we're focused on metro level aggregation. And so our 250 data centers are across 71 current metros where we look to aggregate traffic, networks, customers, and ecosystems. And so right now what we're focused on is how to provide kind of an ecosystem of partners and capabilities at those locations and make the effort and the friction less for getting the right thing in those places connected to the right networks. Now that only brings you to the metro edge, but where we think that we can get enough aggregation to make economics for what we're going to consider to be kind of more general purpose distributed use cases really more economical. That starts first with partners like Idir and Orange bringing their networks and allowing local breakout and interchange of traffic to occur in those metro points instead of backhauling all to a few centralized locations. After that, we can start to see customers access applications and build that ecosystem to really innovate on use cases that are taking advantage of those low latency interconnect points, maybe 5, 10, 15 milliseconds away from their end users or ecosystems. I still think we're a little ways off from we Equinix being able to help our customers reach all of those. We're still working towards making that easier, and then supporting some of those use cases that tether out to the far edge. Maybe Milan has some experience there that he can discuss around that. But right now we're still focused on the area, hey, where can we get dozens or hundreds or thousands of customers aggregated at a metro level so we can use kind of standard cloud monetization models to help you get there.
Well, so that's a great view there, the aggregation. Well, I wondered, Milan, if we go to you to get the view from the customer, the premise edge.
Yeah, from a business model perspective, we're really seeing multiple models in play. You know, there's some situations where the enterprises are either because of a strategic decision that they're taking or their internal competency and skill set, where they're more leaning towards working with a partner, you know, to purchase some business outcome as a service. And then we have other scenarios where, let's just say, the end user is a little bit more vertically integrated and they're more open or willing to purchase the infrastructure themselves and deploy and manage their own various use cases. So it kind of depends vertical by vertical and a little bit geo by geo, you know, but it's a smorgasbord right now in the early days of edge computing. And I think it's to be successful in this type of environment, you know, we really need to be flexible in how we package and how we deliver our solutions with our go-to-market partners.
Right, let's go to Ida now. I mean, Ida, everyone's slightly looking at the operators, hoping that they're going to put their hands in their pockets. And what's your perspective here from Orange?
Yes, from Orange, and I will talk for Orange International because we are in the B2B market and wholesale, and after I will extend it to all Orange. From business model perspective, we still need the two models, having this centralized and also some of edge or decentralized. This is especially to answer our customer request. By decentralizing and having those edge telco clouds, we can offer our customers with two capacities or capabilities. The first one is that we can provide the SLAs that are very, very important for them. For example, being with latency less than 10 milliseconds. You cannot achieve this with centralized clouds. The second one is that by being in capacity of rolling out those telco cloud at the edge, so having a huge footprint, you are in capacity of providing your customers with the new services, onboarding them very quickly, because one of the main points between telco cloud at the edge and also the centralized one is the operating model. Each time you operate, let's say, small or mini data centers, you are in capacity of putting quickly new services, rolling out new capacities to your customers. So I would say that at Orange International today, for our B2B customers and also for the wholesale customers, we opted to have a huge footprint, and also we are relying on the expansion of this footprint with Equinix on this on-demand POP, in order to be in capacity to quickly roll out and deploy new services like SD-WAN, 5G, roaming, SASE, 5G core networks, voice, etc. So at the business model perspective, I think that this is depending on your return of investment. And in my personal opinion, while you have those small data centers, you are in capacity of getting quick return of investment instead of investing on huge data centers. So this is the point at our level.
That's great. Something we discussed earlier. I'd like to turn to maybe looking at what the problems are with the business model and how they could maybe got around. And something we discussed earlier on was the idea of the risk model and how that needs to be balanced, and how there's actually the one, the parties like the operators, the infrastructure providers seem at the moment to have a very large share of that risk. I mean, I was actually just listening to a fascinating fireside chat between Macrometra and Dish Wireless recently, this morning, and Dish is essentially going to offer up their network on a cloud basis. So you can consume it, with the idea being that devs just pay for what they use. And if we go to Zach with that, because talk about the idea of cloudification of the network, could that be a way of rebalancing risk, the risk profile?
I think that is, it really represents an opportunity. Right now, we hear throughout the industry, whether it's partners like Orange or end customers like enterprises, who are looking for more outcome based. They're looking for as a service consumptive models for technology. And so I think that's pushing all of us here as operators, as technology innovators like Intel or infrastructure companies like Equinix to adjust our models, right? And figure out how we can bring that value equation to customers quicker. It does mean that we're going to have to look at a few things. And so, we're practicing that right now with Orange, how we can help them as they have a goal to go to, I think it's over 100 locations around the world. How can we help them flex and move between physical colocation and digital services like our Equinix Metal platform to consume that? They've had to invest more at a software layer in their IaaS and related network operating system in order to consume that. But we've had to, kind of be flexible in our business model and consumptive. I do think that there's some opportunities like what we're seeing out of partners like Intel with their silicon as subscription models, with bringing some of their technology in that way. And then also we have sustainability, bringing more circularity around the components so that we can say, bring something into market, understand that there's a carbon impact for both creating it and powering it for a period of time, and then using it sustainably, maybe bringing it to another customer at the end of its usable life, or recycling it and making it into something new or part of the components that can be reused. So looking at both the economic model, how can we bring more as a service consumptive models to our ecosystem? And then number two, which does move the risk around. And then number two, also making sure that we're looking at all aspects of that infrastructure, reuse, extend the life, find different use cases for that, both from a sustainability and a maximize on the ROI.
Milan, I'd like to have your take on that. What's your position on the as a service? How's Intel feeling about that?
I think it's great, and being flexible in how you can package and make it easier for your partners and end customers to consume your technologies. We believe it's table stakes, or said differently, it's a competitive advantage if you're able to be flexible in how your value can be consumed downstream. But if I can take a step back, really a big challenge that we're seeing on the premises edge in particular is it's an extremely heterogeneous environment. So one size does not fit all, what works in industrial versus retail versus healthcare. These are extremely unique requirements, and integrating into these brownfield environments can be extremely complex and costly, right? And third, use cases, really, if we have a strong Rolodex of positive ROI use cases that are either solving a customer pain point or unlocking value for that customer, everything else kind of, it just becomes math from there, right? And what I mean by that is if you know what the end customer value is and it's easily quantified, I think there's enough openness in the industry, whether it's with the partners here on the panel or with Intel, to come at our packaging differently to make the numbers work so that value can be extracted by the end customer.
I'd be interested, could you share any use cases you're seeing at the moment, emerging ones with us?
Yeah, certainly. Maybe I'll focus on industrial a little bit. So we're working with a large global manufacturer. They have massive factories, like 40, 50 acre size locations where they're building large transportation systems. And one of their big pain points was a mobile worker or a connected worker in this environment. There were a lot of obstructions, a lot of blockages. It was creating inefficiencies on the line. So we deployed a private LTE solution in that environment and addressed that first pain point. Connected worker was kind of the anchor use case. And what we saw is because we deployed a very flexible piece of infrastructure that was software defined, the end customer was able to layer on incremental Industry 4.0 use cases on there, like asset tracking type use cases. Very expensive equipment was getting lost in this factory, creating a financial impact, or smart tooling, collecting data from the equipment themselves and making sure processes are in control. So this notion of use case stacking really seems to be hunting for us in the industry today, where we can kind of lead off with a single use case and then layer incremental use cases over time. It just continues to increase the business case for these edge computing systems as a whole.
That's, of course, with single tenancy, there do seem to be really compelling use cases, but I think it's a lot harder when you get to multi-tenancy and shared platforms. And I'd just like to go to Ida here and then talk about how the business model works when you've got a shared platform, and maybe the possibility that the use case stacking could be the answer here, which is kind of what I think you're doing with your partnership with Equinix, using multiple use cases.
Yeah, today in our partnership with Equinix, and as said by Zach, our main pillars are, first of all, the elasticity, flexibility, and the scalability. So our main objective by this partnership is being in capacity of rolling out quickly our telco clouds in order to reach more than 100 telco clouds in the world, which is a huge footprint. And what services we would like to put on top of this? So we have the SASE, which is very important for our B2B customers. We have the 5G, it may be private networks. We are seeing demand for the 5G and 4G local breakout, especially for multiple kind of services. We have deployment of voice service. Voice is kind of legacy network based on some equipment building their own network, and we are moving this voice legacy network into voice as service layer that we can master and customize to our customer. We can talk about the CDN and also about new capacities. So today, in terms of especially business model, and the question of this panel is, do we need to own as an operator our telco cloud, or to work with in collaboration like with Equinix? The answer is that to get flexibility, rapidity, this partnership with Equinix help us to answer our customer very quickly. And today, the main and the important point is how, as an international operator, can I provide my customers with services quickly, not spend time in rolling out new telco cloud, putting it in the network, etc. Relying on this partnership with Equinix, we can quickly, reducing by more than 10 times our rollout, provide our customer with the needed services. If I, yeah.
So carry on.
Go ahead.
No,
yeah, just maybe one important point, sorry for that, I may add, is that in our partnership with Equinix, within Orange, we kind of focus our business on providing our customer with services, so relying on mastering the infrastructure virtualization. So we master our virtualized infrastructure, and we master the services. And we partner with Equinix to roll out all, let's say, the down layer, which is the hardware, compute, storage, etc. Like this, we have, clearly, I will not give the numbers, but we have a business model and TCO that are at the same time a benefit for both Equinix and Orange.
That's great. And I was going to say you beat me really to the next question I had, but let's get Zach to answer that question. are we going to see Opera owned and delivered as a service, or are we going to see enterprise owned and operator managed? Which do you think we're going to see? Are we going to see a mixture of both? What
And we're going to see
in your perspective?
we're going to see a mix of both. We have enterprise customers that look a lot like operators, and operators that are, evolving their business model. I do think that, Ida brings up a really good point. Launching this, going through this journey to launch, this kind of virtualized telco POP infrastructure with Orange. It wasn't just a quick turn it on, right? There was so much work that we had to add to our platform and able to meet the needs of a high production network use case that Orange had. And Orange had to invest very heavily in its software stack in order to be able to consume that kind of heterogeneity in infrastructure and still deliver its service and operations. And so I think that's the type of partnerships we're going to see with network operators to bring that network breakout, with different types of application providers. We're seeing a lot of movement towards developer-driven edge platforms where they can be front end or low code and allowing multi-tenancy at a developer level, even serverless coming and starting to happen in a more robust way in dozens or hundreds of locations. So I think we're going to see these kind of layer cake. And luckily, at least from my perspective, over the last 1 year, it's gone from being, can we think about moving into multiple locations to many of our customers who I'm going to classify in this like edge native world, they're thinking and writing applications in a everywhere, kind of deployed everywhere model. And I think that's really just a leading indicator that the software stacks, the operating models, they're coming actually probably quicker than we can expect. And so I think it's up to us and technology and operators to start evolving our engagement in our business model, as simple as at Equinix working to simplify our contracting mechanisms, which used to be very, very regionalized. And now we're working to just smooth that out so that our customers can consume it in all 70 markets with one contract. Even that we realized was a real barrier to the ecosystem and how people looked at things like usage portability or where and how they were contracting from a currency basis. And we needed to make that easier in order to even support customers who are quite sophisticated like Orange.
I think you said earlier, this is a great opportunity for operators to be the aggregation point.
Yeah. Absolutely, especially because we have to break out that network. And so there's a great place for operators to come in and provide, kind of a virtualized substrate of connectivity, other services that are core fundamentals, and kind of unify that in multiple markets. I think it's going to mean that operators have to get comfortable with working on a global basis. They can't just be in one market. It's going to be very, very hard to offer the kind of breadth that we see customers looking for at an enterprise basis.
Yeah, I just wonder, how do you feel about that opportunity to the aggregation point as an operator?
I think as an opportunity for the aggregation, I think we can see it at two levels. Now, first of all, if we put ourselves in sense that those mini data centers or those telco clouds are used to aggregate some customers and based on that to provide them some services, I think that this is great opportunity because at one time you need in terms of services to act as we act as an operator, you need to tackle the last mile. And by providing those edge at the aggregation layer, and you are in capacity of providing services that requires the fact to be at not the last mile in terms of telecommunication, but in last mile in terms of services. So this is the first opportunity I'm seeing in terms of gathering or aggregating the customers. Secondly, today, clearly our positioning, if I talk about the B2B market, is that we are acting as an aggregator by providing our customers on top of those telco clouds the possibility to get SLAs, to get quality, to get services, and to be, let's say, the man in the middle between our customers, internet backbone, and also all the other application world. And on top of that, we have all our applications. So I would say, sorry for that, that the main important point at this telco cloud is that it allows aggregating the customers and also aggregating services or portfolio of services to our customers.
I'd just like to maybe turn it over to Milan actually to get the private, the enterprise edge view here. I mean, who do you see dominating this market? Do you think it'll be, or who do you see getting large market share? Do you think it'll be growth market for operators, or do you think you're going to see specialist systems integrators that might work in things like logistics or manufacturing? How do you see that?
It's a great question. The land grab is definitely on, because the edge computing industry is in the early innings. But we believe there's plenty of value to go around. And I think the mobile network operators are certainly going to be in a strong position to capitalize given their private mobility expertise and the innovative use case that can be unlocked there. Multiple different systems integrators, the cloud folks, various ISVs. So we think there's going to be multiple winners out there. And we're really working hard at Intel to coalesce that ecosystem and enable these use cases to start getting deployed vertical by vertical. And what we're probably going to see over the next few years out is then once we have some pockets of edge computing deployments happening, the next phase will be how do these edges all play very nicely together, and I want to kind of key in on a comment Zach made earlier. Developers are building their applications to run anywhere. And that's really the jet fuel that's going to drive this industry. And we're keenly focused on developers, and we want to make sure that we're putting the right edge platforms forward, the right hardware platforms forward to enable those applications to run as efficiently as possible, whether it's on-prem or on the network edge itself.
Yeah, Milan,
That's
you
a
make a great point. I had a tagline, I use it internally here, and we're the world's largest data center operator. And I continually repeat that the edge is developers, not data centers. And so it's got to be code driven. You have to think in a real developer friendly manner, even though in the end, many of us may create or provide infrastructure. The customer, the user is going to be the software.
And what can we do to attract the developers to write those killer apps for the edge? Is it a question of opening up the network?
Yeah.
Need to do.
Yeah, if I may, how we can attract, because as said by Milan and Zach, it's not a matter of infrastructure, it's a matter of services and applications. So how can we attract? This is by building APIs that can be consumed quickly by the developers. I think that one of the main important topic is how I can, with my telco cloud, provide open APIs that can be consumed by partners, by the developers, in order to instantiate, develop, install new services quickly, test them, etc. So this is and today, just for information, within Orange International and in the transformation I'm leading, one of the main key rule that we have put it in place is what we call API by default, which mean or API by design, meaning that all should be APIs in order to be consumed.
Yeah,
agree. Yeah,
anyone want to jump in for a last quick? What can we do to get those developers in?
No.
Milan?
I was just going to echo what the esteemed panel here said. Having open infrastructure and software defined solutions, I think, is going to be key. To really unlock the potential of edge computing as a whole.
Yeah, we could do well to just give more access, make it easier, allow developers to adopt and try and deploy. The best kryptonite to a developer is before you tried it, make them sign a 3-year contract. We need to have good, robust POC programs, ways to get things out into market and listen to feedback. Milan and I had talked earlier, we're still in discovery mode, and developers are so great at sharing product feedback. We need to have stronger feedback loops as an ecosystem to allow us to learn and to react to those new business models or features that need to be deployed.
Yep, agree.
Well, on that note of agreement, I'd like to thank the panel for great discussion. and I wish you all a good rest of your day. Thanks very much.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Very much.
Thank you very much. Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.